Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Now, if you are new here, then I'm Fraser, and for the rest of this year, I'm going to be living primarily on cruise ships as a passenger. Now, in this video today, I'm going to give you a full detailed ship tour of the ship that I'm on today, which is Costa Diadema. Now, this video is going to be quite a long one, so make sure you're settled down, make yourself comfortable, go and get a coffee or maybe even a beer, and join me for the next however long, and we'll walk through every single deck on the ship. Now, the way that we're going to work today is we'll go from the bottom and work our way all the way up to here, which is up on the top of the ship. Now, we're not going to cover the decks that are only passenger cabin decks, and the reason for that is that we would be here all day. But if you'd like to check out the cabins on this ship, then you absolutely can do that by heading over to my channel and looking out for the cabin tours from Costa Diadema. So over there, you can check out an inside cabin, an outside cabin, a balcony cabin, and also a number of suites. So hopefully, if you're planning a cruise on this type of ship, I have got you absolutely covered. But look, without further ado, let me tell you a little bit more about this ship, and I will see you down at the bottom. Costa Diadema was delivered to Costa Cruises back in 2014, and at that point in time, this Dream Class cruise ship was the largest cruise ship in the world to fly an Italian flag. Now, in more recent years, she's been overtaken by the likes of Costa Toscana and Costa Smeralda, so is no longer the largest in the Costa fleet, but from a size point of view, definitely still worth noting. So she's got over 1,800 passenger cabins, which gives her a capacity of well over 4,000 passengers. Now, from a navigation point of view, when you get on board, Costa have got some pretty clever things up their sleeve, and it's actually the first time that I've seen this on a ship. So on the next screen, you're going to see the navigational assistance that you'll find on the ship when you board. Now, they class every venue on the ship as stern, centre or bow, and when you see it advertised in your daily schedule that you've got an event in a certain venue, it'll be colour coded to coordinate with the colours at the bottom of the banner there, and it will also show you whether it's at the front, the middle or the back. You'll also see that diagram throughout the ship, so hopefully you won't get lost. Now, moving into deck 3, this is where you'll find the main atrium of the ship. Now, this spans across decks 3, 4 and 5 and goes all the way up to the top of the ship. So I'm finding it quite rare with the newer design ships that you have these vaulted atriums, so that's really, really good to see on Costa Diadema. Now, this atrium really is the main hub of activity on board, and the main bar down on deck 3 is where it's happening every single night of your cruise. So what you should expect is live music in here, you should be expecting cocktail demonstrations, and you should be expecting some of the best drinks that you can find on the ship. Now, all around the atrium, you've got these really comfortable seating areas, relatively bold colours, but you'll see as we go on that that's the general theme on a Costa cruise ship. Now, you've got that on both sides, and then the point that's worth noting is that behind all of the sofas on the left-hand side here, you're looking straight out onto the ocean. So whether you're in port or whether the ship's in motion, you can always get a view of what's going on outside. Now, the next venue remaining on deck 3 is reception. So you can see here, just spinning round from that main bar area, you'll find it on the left hand side. Now, this is where you'll come if you've got any complaints, any queries, or just any questions that you might have when you're on board. Now, it is worth noting that this reception is not 24 hours, although there is a phone line available. So this reception operates from 7 AM until midnight, and then if anything goes wrong or you require assistance outside of those hours, you absolutely can get somebody, but you just have to make a phone call rather than coming down to the desk to see someone. Now, the next venue, heading forward, is the Emerald Theatre. Now, this theatre spans across 3 decks on the ship, so it's one of the largest theatres that I think I've seen on a cruise ship. Now, you'll find this the main level on deck 3, you've then got additional seating on deck 4, and you can also enter on deck 5 to drop down to the seating on deck 4. Now, you can see here from a scale point of view, this is a really, really impressive venue. One feature that I particularly enjoyed about this was that you can see here that almost every chair has got a table, and you're more than welcome to bring drinks in here. You're also able to bring snacks in if you wish, but to be honest, you'd be better off getting your dinner and then coming in here with a nice drink to watch the show. Now, from an entertainment point of view,
we found on board that about 60% of our shows were singers singing along to backing tracks, about 25% were the kind of upscale cruise ship production teams, and the rest were very unique acts that had been brought on specifically for our cruise. So our cruise was a 14-night Mediterranean cruise back in April 2023. Now the next venue, this is now heading towards the back of the ship, and this is one of the main restaurants on board. So to dine in here, this is included in your cruise fare. Now it is worth mentioning that this dining room, although it maybe looks quite large, this is actually the smaller of the two main included dining offerings. We will move on and look at the other option just momentarily. Just one thing to mention is that the location on deck 3, again, similar to reception, means that if you're sitting by the window, you can look down onto the ocean. Now, the main restaurant. This is where you'll really see a difference in size. Now, this restaurant, the main entrance is on deck 3. You can also enter on deck 4, but we'll discuss that in a little minute. So as we said with the other restaurant, this one is also totally included in your cruise fare, so you shouldn't be expecting to pay anything else to dine in here. Now this dining room is particularly impressive and particularly similar to what I've seen from other big cruise lines. Now I actually started my cruise dining in here and finished eating in the other dining room just because we were moved to a smaller table, but I thought the experience in here was really good. It was added to by the fact that if you didn't like that big main central atrium section, you had more comfortable sections down at the side, such as what you're seeing on the screen at the moment. Now, moving upstairs, as you can see, there's a staircase on either side of the room, and they're very glitzy lit with LED lights all the way up both sides. Now, Deck 4 is reserved specifically for Gold and Platinum members, so what that means is that if you're a member of the Costa Cruises loyalty programme and you've achieved either a Gold or a Platinum tier level, you'll be invited to enjoy your meal every night up on Deck 4. Now, this part of the dining room is also open for lunch, so again, if you're at that loyalty level, you can expect to eat your food up here. Now heading towards the back, you'll see that you've got some of the best wake views on the ship here. Now unfortunately, the point of filming this, we were in port, but you can get a feel for, if you were at sea, just what you'd be seeing out of these windows. Now before we move up a deck, I'll just give you a quick look over the whole dining room, and I'll see you out at the photo counter. Okay, so we are now on Deck 4. Now the first venue that we'll look at here is back in the main atrium, and it's called My Moments. Now they call this a photo and emotion store, and basically what this is where you can buy various types of camera equipment, you can come for photo shoots, and then you can also purchase your photos that you get taken on the cruise, but we'll come back to that in a second. Now first up, you can see here the professional photo studio. So this first room that you're in is where you go for your consultation, and then the actual studio is separate behind that glass door. Now this section here is where you come to view all of your photographs that might be taken throughout the cruise. Now the only thing here is that you have to come and view your photos during the day when this is open. This footage was taken at night, just to avoid getting passengers in the footage and also to avoid photographing crew. Now over the other side of the atrium, you've got what Costa refer to as Sea Dream. Now this is essentially future cruise booking desks. Now in here, you can come in to book your future cruises while on board. I always think it's worth checking what sort of deals they've got available, because sometimes you can get some pretty generous amounts of onboard credit just by looking to book your cruise while you're on the ship. Okay, next up, one of my primary concerns before cruising with Costa for the first time was how would I fare as an English speaker, because that's not the primary language on board. Now I was delighted to find out that the nationalities that you can see on the wall there are all granted what they call an international hostess. So what that means is that if you speak English, for example, there will be an English speaking hostess that will be available multiple hours a day who can be available to answer any questions or just to be a friendly face out and around the ship. Now, next door to that desk, you've got MyTours. Now, MyTours is essentially Costa's way of saying excursions desk. So this is the part of the ship that you will come if you want to find out further information about your excursion. So you can see on the screen here, this is advertising what time the excursions are leaving and where they're leaving from when we were stopping in Malaga. And then you'll also come here if you'd like to book excursions or if you've got any issues or any problems. Now moving on from here and heading backwards towards the back of the ship, the first venue you'll find is the Grand Bar Orlov. Now this is one of the main sections of the ship, and this is probably what I would explain as the main ballroom on board. Now in this venue, you've got the main seating down here on deck 4, and you can also see the glass balcony up on deck 5. Now you can go and get a drink and relax up there if, like me, you enjoy to people watch, or you can come down here and take part in whatever activities are on the schedule that day. Now, it is worth highlighting that Costa as a cruise line place a real importance on ballroom dancing, and every single night of my 14-night cruise featured multiple hours of ballroom. So ballroom usually would start about 9 PM, and it usually would finish about 1:30 AM. So if you are looking to book a Costa cruise and you're maybe nervous that you wouldn't be able to ballroom dance, you have absolutely nothing to worry about. Now moving upstairs from that grand bar section, just to show you what the view is from up here looking down. But hey, we'll come back to deck 5 shortly. Let me go back down to deck 4 and show you the next part of the ship. Now the next thing that I want to show you is the Galleria, or the shopping mall on board. Now in here you'll find actually one of the widest arrays of shops that I've seen on a cruise ship, and the quality down here I was really impressed with. So down here you'll find jewellers, you'll find clothes shops, you'll find the Costa shop, which is where you can buy cruise ship memorabilia. You will find a lot of branded merchandise down here. You'll also find things like handbag shops, things like sunglasses shops, and actually down here is a great way to spend some time if you've got, for example, a quiet night on board, or maybe you've got a sea day that's not allowing you to relax on the open decks. This is one thing that I did find about Costa Diadema generally. She handled crowds really well, and it's because of places like this where the shopping centre on some cruise ships I find can be really underutilised, but on this ship people seem to really enjoy coming here. Now opening hours, you'll have seen on the screen there, it was open from 6:30 PM. It's worth mentioning that this was filmed on a port day, so if you were on a sea day, these shops would be open for a significantly longer period of time during the day. So moving up a deck onto deck number 5. Now the first venue to show you is the Onboard arcade. Now this arcade is a little bit smaller than what I've seen on some other cruise ships, but hopefully you'll agree that the facilities that are offered elsewhere on the ship certainly make up for this being a little bit smaller. Now in here you'll find an array of pay-as-you-go machines. You can also compete for tickets, and then depending on how many tickets you acquire during the cruise, you can then exchange them for prizes in the machine that you're looking at the moment. Now directly next door you'll find the Country Rock Club. Now this was one of my favourite venues on board, and in here you can expect to find a live band every single night playing, I guess, rock and pop music. Now I would come in here every single night of the cruise because you get the luxury of looking down over the main atrium, but you're in a completely closed off environment, and you can also access the outside open decks from here. Now one thing that is definitely worth highlighting in this venue is the attention to detail when it comes to the decor. So you can see that they've got a huge array of really impressive neon signs all the way through the venue, and they've also got a record covered carpet, and if you look at the individual tables, they're all various types of rock equipment. So on here, for example, you can see electric guitars. Going back to the neon, you've got the really famous picture at the back with the Beatles crossing over the road, which I thought was really, really cool. Now the last thing I'll show you from this venue before we move on is the outside space, because I think this is excellent that you can get a drink at night and go and stand outside, because on a cruise I just love to not feel as though I'm trapped on the inside of the ship all the time. Now the next venue, moving to the other side of the atrium, is the ice cream shop on board. Now this does cost extra to your cruise fare, doesn't cost a huge amount. You can expect to pay about €3.50 for an ice cream. You can also order crepes from here, you can buy macaroons, you can buy a whole array of desserts. Now, this is a really, really nice place to come and chill out, just due to the fact that it's so different to the other venues that you'll find on board. Now, what I really enjoyed was the fact that, and I will show you in a second, you could either spend your time relaxing in the cafeteria here, or if you wanted something a little bit different, you could actually order your snacks and then go and sit on the balcony section that overlooks the main atrium, which for me is definitely the way forward, because then you get some of the best people watching opportunities on the ship. Now this venue is open till 12:30, so that's 30 minutes past midnight every single day, so you have no excuse to not fit that into your diary. Now next up is one of the probably most highly coveted speciality restaurants on the ship. Now this venue is absolutely beautiful. Now the concept here is that you've got 3 Michelin star chefs, each from a different country, and they have come together to create a restaurant that is really like nothing else that I've seen at sea. Now in this restaurant you've got an Italian chef, a French chef and a Spanish chef, and their token is to explore the world, start tasting it. So you can expect in here to find the entire menu very heavily influenced by those 3 countries. Now what I did find particularly interesting is that in the main dining room, Costa also offer as one of the menu choices what they call a destination dish. Now that destination dish is one of the courses available free of charge, but it gives you a little bit of a feeling for what your meal could be like if you were to come into this restaurant to sample what was on offer. Now one thing that I found particularly impressive about this restaurant is that all of this wood that you can see that's presented as like a centerpiece and as decoration, this is actually all recovered from beaches that have been cleaned up as part of the Costa Cruises Foundation. So yeah, it's really, really impressive how they've managed to take what is essentially natural wastage and turn it into something really, really beautiful. Now the final point for me to mention on here, and then I'll leave you to have a look around for a few seconds, is that for every meal sold in this restaurant, Costa will make an additional donation to the Costa Foundation, which is primarily concerned with cleaning up beaches and improving the ocean. Okay, moving on. Now directly across the hall, you'll find the Tavola Teppenyaki restaurant. Now teppanyaki is becoming increasingly popular on cruise ships, and I think when you look at venues like this, it's really easy to see why. Now the concept here is that you as a passenger will come in and sit around the outside of this kind of centralised open kitchen area while your food is prepared fresh in the middle as, I guess, dinner theatre is performed in front of you. Now this is a really good option if you're looking to come in for dinner to meet other people, but it is worth noting that this, in addition to the previous restaurant we were in, will cost you more on top of your cruise fare. Now for updated prices on exactly how much more you can expect to pay, I would always advise checking by logging into your Costa Cruises app or by logging into your account online prior to sailing. Okay, now next door is the Onboard Steakhouse. Now, you're probably getting a bit of a feeling now that the speciality restaurants on board are really handily grouped beside each other. So the 3 restaurants that we've been in now are directly beside each other, which make it really easy if you are one who is perhaps more likely to get lost on a cruise ship, but it's also really useful that if you'd like to dine speciality one night but you're not sure which you'd like to go for, you just have to go to one part of the ship and then you can look around the menus and see what one you want to try. Now the steakhouse on here, I thought it was actually quite understated, but I did think it was really, really nice when on board. Now you can get a really impressive array of wine on here, and the wine available in this restaurant seemed to be much wider than what we had available in the main dining room. Now the next venue is brand new to Costa, and this is called Sushino at Costa, also on deck 5, so we're remaining alongside all of those other speciality restaurants. Now in here, you can get some brilliant sushi, freshly prepared in front of you at the counter on the left hand side. Now each afternoon and each evening in here, usually afternoon if you're at sea, but definitely evenings, you can expect to find live music in here, at the small stage at the end of your screen now. Now the type of music that you'd be getting would be more likely to be acoustic music rather than any shows that would be taking place here, largely due to the fact that this restaurant is open into the main hallway. Now you can see the prices at the time of sailing on here, but if you were to come in for unlimited sushi for dinner, you'd be looking at paying €21 each, or if you were to come in for lunch, you'd be looking to pay €16 each. And as you can see, the food here looked absolutely fantastic. I'll be really, really intrigued to see how this restaurant performs now that it's been added to Costa Diadema. Now staying on the subject of speciality dining, let me show you the Onboard Pizzeria. Now this is just along the corridor from the sushi restaurant, and when I initially embarked on Diadema, it really, really surprised me that I wouldn't be able to get pizza complimentary and I would have to pay extra for it. The reason that I was so surprised was that from my cruises with other Italian cruise lines, pizza is included as like a core essential that you can get almost any minute of any day free of charge. However, what I would say is that after being on the ship, I completely appreciate that although you can't get it free of charge, what you can get is for a little bit extra onto your fare, you can get a real experience by coming out and dining for a pizza in what feels like a restaurant. Now prices, you can get pizzas in here beginning from around €6 each and then going up to about €14 or €15 each, but that depends entirely on what you choose to order. Now you can either dine inside in the restaurant area that we were in a second ago, or you can come out here and get views of the ocean and actually hear the ocean at the same time. Now this area is all heated as well, so you've got electric heaters and then it's all fully lit at night as well. Now the menu that you're looking at here is split into a couple of different sections. You've got classic, special, tasty, gourmet, and then down at the bottom right you can also order mozzarella, which is made on board, or you can order bespoke desserts here as well. Now the next venue that we'll look at quickly is the restaurant Club Diadema. Now this restaurant isn't open to the majority of passengers on the ship, and during my sailing, so April 2023, this restaurant was kept exclusively for suite passengers, so at no point did I dine in here, and at no point did I speak with anyone who was dining in here. Now one of the real luxuries to having your own restaurant as a suite guest is that you don't have to deal with the same crowds that you'll find elsewhere on the ship. You get a much more intimate experience, and as you can see here, you've got views straight out onto the open ocean. Now it is also a really nice touch how from this restaurant, on the left hand side there's an automatic door that will take you straight out onto that promenade section, so that if you want to, after your meal, you can get straight outside and go for a walk. Now directly beside the Club Diadema restaurant, you arrive in the casino. Now one thing that is worth highlighting is that this footage was shot while the ship was in port, so no machines were activated and therefore no rules had been broken with the recording of the casino using this camera. Now you can see in here that there is a huge selection of machines. I found the casino on Costa Diadema to be really, really busy at all hours of the day. Now obviously when the ship's in port the machines are off or the machines are disabled, but when the ship's at sea you'll find the tables open, you'll find the machines open, and I would find that even from kind of early hours of the morning, so breakfast time, all the way through into the following morning, you would find that there would be passengers in here. Now I'll leave you to have a quick look over some of the tables and a quick look over some more of the machines, and I'll see you in the wine bar when it's time to move on. Okay, so let's move on from the casino. Now in here, we'll find the DiVino wine bar. Now this venue looks directly into the casino, so we're really not moving very far at all. Now in here, you'll find that you can buy quite a large selection of wine from the wine machines in the room, and you can also come in to order more bespoke varieties that can be served to you by the bottle from the onboard sommelier. Now I didn't use this venue at any point during my cruise, but I was told that my drinks package, which was called My Drinks, would not qualify for drinks in here. Now for that reason, this venue while I was on the ship did seem to be pretty quiet. I only ever saw 2 or 3 tables of people in here, but if you are looking for more premium beverages on board in a more exclusive environment, then this one could definitely be for you. Now, another speciality bar venue on board is this one. Now, in here, you'll find the Dresden Green beer bar, essentially. Now, in this area here, I actually found this to be a really, really impressive size, and while on board, it felt completely underutilised. Now, in here, you've got a huge area up here, and I'll take you down and show you downstairs in a second. But you've got quite a large selection of different beers on tap that elsewhere in the ship you couldn't get. So to get any of these drinks, you had to come in to this individual venue, and you could take your drinks away or you could sit and enjoy them in here. Now there would be the ability for live music in here, in that stage in the left hand corner there, and if I take you downstairs now and show you down here, you'll see that again, it's a really, really good size on the lower floor too. Now you can enter from down here, but generally speaking, people would enter from deck 5 to order their drinks and then drop down to deck 4. One big benefit to this venue is that it's where one of the only onboard snooker tables are. So yeah, if you want to chill out and play snooker or pool, then you can do that down here. Now back up on deck 5, let me show you the piano bar. So this venue was actually very different to any that I've seen on cruise ships. So piano bars I find can be very relaxed, very quiet, and this piano bar had a very different vibe to it. You can see here it's got really bright multicoloured lights all around, and the grand piano in the middle there wouldn't just play on its own, it would play to backing tracks, someone would be singing along. So what that meant was that it turned this room from a really quiet laid back piano bar into a venue with a bit of life actually. So I really did enjoy spending time in here, having a couple of drinks at night before heading on elsewhere. So yeah, big thumbs up from me. And directly next door, you've got what we knew on the ship as the Teodora Lounge. Now in here you've got 2 different venues. You've got the Teodora Lounge, and then you've also got the Sunset Bar that we'll get to in a little minute. But you can see in here lots and lots of seating on a raised level on the right hand side, and then on a floor level on this main section here. Now you've also got a dance floor on one side with a stage, and the entertainment that we found in here was absolutely excellent. They would have live musicians, live saxophonists playing along to modern hits, for example, and yeah, you'd usually find that there'd be plenty of people on the dance floor. Now moving outside, this is one of my favourite venues on board Costa Diadema. It was so relaxed, and it felt so modern. I was really, really impressed with this. So this is the Sunset Bar, and you'll find this all the way at the very, very back of Deck 5. Now again, just to highlight, this footage was recorded when we were in port, but you could imagine if you were out at sea, the view that you'd be getting from the wake here would be really, really quite special. Now, due to the way that this bar is designed, it means that you can enjoy it whether it's hot or cold outside, so don't worry about the weather. The reason for that is that you've got a weatherproof canopy over a large amount of the seating, so if it is raining, you can still come out and enjoy here. If it's windy, you can see here that everyone gets their own blanket, so you can come out and relax under a blanket and sip a hot chocolate. Or, on a warmer day, you can come out with a cold glass of wine, a cold glass of water, or whatever tickles your fancy, and just spend a few hours looking out over the horizon. So as I say, this was one of my favourite venues on the ship, and I would wholeheartedly recommend that if you are cruising in Costa Diadema, please make time to come and enjoy this space. Now, I did say earlier in the video that we weren't going to cover the decks that are exclusively dedicated to passenger cabins. Now, that eliminates deck 6, 7, 8 and 9, but if you'd like to see the cabins, then please do head over to my channel and have a look at the various cabin tours that are available to you now. So, moving all the way up to deck 10, the first venue to look at is the Lido Diana. Now, this is the onboard swimming pool, and we'll come back to talk about this when we move on to deck 11, and that will become clear why in a few minutes. Now, moving on to the onboard buffet, this is a section that a lot of people wanted to know about when I got on this ship. I thought that this functioned pretty much identically to any other cruise ship buffet that I've seen. The only thing that I would call out is that the dinner service on here closes at 9 PM, and then the buffet actually then remains closed until the following morning. So if you do want to eat outside of those times, you can do it, but you've got to go to a speciality venue. Now that said, the quality of food that I found in the buffet was really, really good. I was very, very impressed, and in fact substituted multiple of my main dining room meals for nights in the buffet. So yeah, definitely sold on this place. Now you will notice that the seating now has changed from being more minimalistic, more modern, into being more traditional sort of dining room seating, and that's because this area of the restaurant doubles up as a restaurant at night. Now, if you would like to upgrade some of your meals to buy, for example, tomahawk steaks or lobster, then you can do that, and you'll come and enjoy your dinner in this section of the ship here. So a little bit separated to the main buffet, but still relatively open. So during the day, if the buffet's full, then all of this seating will be utilised, but generally speaking at night, it'll be closed off for more speciality options. Now directly behind the buffet, you'll find the aft facing pool. Now this is all the way at the back of deck 10, and a really, really nice area if you want to chill out with views of the wake. Now you will find here that the pool is relatively small, more of a plunge pool, and it's got this really nice water feature. So what that also means is that if you're at sea, you can often find that the loungers immediately around the pool can get quite a nice spray. I really enjoyed it, but definitely worth noting that if you don't enjoy that, maybe choose to sit elsewhere when you're on your cruise. Now on either side of this back pool, you've got food service areas, and you've also got a bar. Now they'll serve snacks which are included in your cruise fare every lunchtime, and also as a kind of afternoon snack before dinner. So deck 11, now this is where we will think a little bit more about that indoor pool that we touched on earlier. So the official name up here is the Balconata, which is essentially the balcony that overlooks the Lido Diana, which is the pool downstairs. Now loads and loads of seating up here, and if you look out here, you've got on either side of the ship, you've got these kind of raised out hot tub areas. So these stick out from either side of the ship, and the views that you get looking up and down the ship really are something special. Now coming around here, you can see the indoor pool. Generally speaking, on my cruise, the roof would be closed, but we did have 2 or 3 hot days where they would fully retract this so that everyone inside could also be in the sun. Now, coming out either side of that balcony section, you've then got 2 large sun terraces, so lots and lots of loungers. And considering my cruise was April 2023 and we had really good weather because we were going through a European heatwave, I never ever struggled to find a sun lounger on the ship. Okay, now sticking on deck 11, let me show you the library. Now, the really interesting thing with this library is that there's no books. What they've done is they've decided to make it a really modern workspace, and there's no books in the cabinets, but I guess what this did prove was really useful for me, for example, to come in and do a little bit of work. I also saw some other people working in here, but yeah, if you're looking to read, then you're going to have to bring your own book because you're not going to get one from the onboard library, which I did find really unusual, and I'll be interested to see if this takes off. Now, next door to the library, you've got the onboard chapel. Now, this is actually one of the most tastefully done chapels I've seen on a ship. I've actually very rarely seen a specific space dedicated to religion, so this was really, really interesting for me to see. You come in, and it just feels like a miniature church, and it's got people's prayer cards in here. There was people that would come in to worship in here. It was a really, really nice space that I thought was really, really nicely done. Now, outside the chapel, back out on the open decks, you'll find the Aperol Spritz Bar. Now, this venue is perfect for the early evening when it opens, because you can come up here, have an Aperol, and watch the sun disappear over the horizon. Now, in terms of seating options, you've got loads and loads of bar stools all the way around here, or you can come over and sit on these, I guess, more conventional tables and chairs. Now, from a view perspective, look at what you're looking back at. So you can see here that you're one level raised up from that back pool, which means that you've got full vantage over the whole area. And one thing that I would definitely call out is that there's hot tubs up here. Now, I met people in my last couple of days on board who didn't actually realise that there were hot tubs here. So if you are finding that these are quite busy on other decks, you'll quite often find that there's not many people in them here. The only downside is that you've got tables and chairs around you, but I thought that was a real hint. Now, deck 12, so up we go one more. Now here, I'd like to give you a bit of insight to the spa facilities on board. Now, the first venue that we'll look at is the hairdresser, so you can come in here if you're looking to get beauty treatments or if you're looking to get your hair done. And the next part that I'll show you before we leave briefly to go back out to the main ship is the main, I guess, jewelled staircase. Now, this was really, really nicely done, and it's probably one of the most Instagrammable parts of the ship. Now, to get access to here, you have to be a Samsara guest, so staying in a suite, or you have to pay for a day pass to the spa or the thermal suite. Now, leaving the exclusive area behind, I wanted to show you what deck 12 looks like for the rest of the passengers. So you can see here, you've got 2 really long sun decks that go all the way down either side of the ship. Now, this is down on deck 12. You can see that there's loads and loads of space if you're that way inclined where you'd like to come out and sun worship, which is definitely my position on a cruise. But yeah, let me just show you that one more time from above, because that will give you a better feel for the space on this deck. Now, another thing worth calling out up here is that there's more hot tubs. This ship is really well proportioned from a hot tub point of view, and actually looking at these, they're all a really, really good size, so I never ever saw the hot tubs on this ship to be crammed full of people the way they can be on some other ships. So yeah, really, really good. Now, another feature to deck 12 is the relatively new aqua park. Now, this water park is aimed primarily at younger children. It's not that way inclined where on some cruise ships you'll find water slides for young adults. It's definitely aimed at young kids. Now, in here, really, really impressive facility. You've got a multi-storey castle, which we'll go into in a second, and then you've got a full-scale pirate ship out here, so I actually couldn't believe what I was looking at when I got onto this ship. You can see this in more detail if you head over to my Instagram and look at the reel that I posted in here, which was basically a walkthrough of the whole aquapark setup. Now let's go in and look at the castle. So you can see there, first of all, you've got life jackets, so if you'd like your little one to be wearing one of them in here, which is totally understandable, then that's fine. They're free of charge to use, so no problem at all. And you can see in the castle, the theming in here is really, really good. Now directly outside, you've got an area for the much younger kids. I don't think this section ever had water in it when I was there, so it's probably more just to go and relax while your kids are in here. Now, level 1 of the castle is where you'll find the Peppa Pig Aqua Park. Now, really, really good. Everything in here shoots water, so from the perspective of a child, I think this would be such a fantastic place to spend an afternoon. I just thought it was so impressive for being on a ship. Now if we turn around from the water park, we then re-enter the castle on level 1. Now you can see here you've got your staircase, which I will take you up in a second, but in here you've got more play areas, and then going out to the back you can look over the pirate ship. Now a couple of people did message me on Instagram about the height of those walls, and don't worry, where the wall drops you've then got a glass safety barrier, so do not worry about that wall being too low. I completely get it, but absolutely nothing to be worried about. So yeah, let's head upstairs and check out the top floor of the castle. So up here is where I think you'll get some of the best views of the ship, and you're looking directly onto that really, really iconic yellow Costa funnel. But yeah, looking back over here, you can see that the Peppa Pig section is a really, really good size. Again, never saw this busy during my cruise, and we were sailing at pretty much full capacity, so yeah, really, really good. Now staying on this deck, but moving towards the back of the ship, the first venue that we'll see now is the card room. Now this is the first time that I've seen on a cruise ship a venue specifically dedicated to card games, but I thought this was a really, really nice answer to the eternal problem of not having anywhere to go at night to play games because you're always in a bar or you're in a show lounge. So yeah, I'm a really, really big fan of this, and I know I did speak to multiple people on board who did use this every single night. So big, big thumbs up for the inclusion of a card room. Okay, moving on to a slightly different pastime, very different to playing cards. You'll find the onboard disco directly across the hall. Now, in here, I thought this was really, really well equipped for being on a ship. You've got, on the downstairs section, you've got raised seating, and you've also got the bar on the far wall there. And then upstairs you can see here you've got a very impressive LED chandelier, and then all around in 360 degrees you've got seating that overlooks the main dance floor, and then if you go up there you've also got sort of sofa seating as well. Now this club does then open out directly onto the open decks, so if you want to get some outside space, no problem at all. Okay, deck 14. Now one thing that a lot of people asked me about when I was on board was what are the onboard fitness facilities like. Now let me take you in and show you the gym. Now this is open from 7 AM until 8 PM, but it's worth noting that I came in here after hours, which is why it's so dark outside. Don't be worried that if you come on a European cruise it'll be dark between 7 AM and 8 PM. This was filmed really late. Now in here you've got a huge array of equipment actually. You've got lots of cardio machines, lots of branded weightlifting machines, and in this section that we're walking to now is all the free weights. So if I take you over and show you, you've got a huge array of different weights, so if you are looking to keep fit while you're on your cruise, that's really not going to be too much of an issue, judging by what I saw in here. Now all of the equipment is branded Techno Gym, which from the ships that I've been on previously that have had this, I would say the quality is really good, and actually there wasn't a single machine out of service in here, so I was really, really impressed with that. Now if group exercise is more your thing, Then every day you can come to like abs classes, there's spin classes, there's various types of workouts that you can come to in a group format if you would rather that than working out on your own. Now, staying on deck 14, but going back to the more exclusive part of the ship, this is when I want to show you the Samsara Spa. Now, in here you'll find a number of different rooms, and I'm going to walk you through 3 of them now. So first of all, you've got a relaxation room that's got all of these heated loungers in it that are quite famous for various spas. Now in here, when this room is on, worth noting this room is off at the moment, but when this is on, you'll get a really strong aroma in here, and you'll also get a bit of steam. And then if I walk you through into the room at the back, which will be the easiest one to show you, it's the onboard sauna. Now the thing that I just loved about the spa facilities in here is look at the views. You've got floor to ceiling almost windows looking out over the port that you're in or over the ocean. So from a view perspective, this is one of the best laid out spas that I've seen on a cruise ship. Now you've also got one of these quite large thermal pools, so you'll find a number of jets. You'll also find that the entire pool is jacuzzied, and then you can see on the left hand side there, you've got the loungers inside the pool. So yeah, you can come in here and chill out. Now next venue, the Winter Garden. Now again, you have to be a spa guest to utilise this lounge, but in here, this is right at the very front of the ship, and this is a brilliant spot, especially if it's a little bit colder outside. I did find I came in here on a warm morning and it was pretty hot because all of that glass definitely heats the room, especially in the sun. Now one feature that's really nice in here is that you can get all different varieties of loose leaf tea. So you can see here, you've got 5 different canisters full of different types of tea, and then you've also got a large decanter on the other side there. So a really nice touch to come in here, get a teapot and chill out with some real tea. Now if treatments are more your thing, then you're absolutely fine on Costa Diadema, they've got you covered. You'll find a large amount of treatment rooms. You can see just one here, but you could continue to go around this corridor for quite a while and see all the different massage rooms, all the different treatment rooms, but yeah, loads on offer. Now back out of the exclusive area, you've got the jogging track. Now one lap of this jogging track is just over 200 metres, so what that means is that you're seeing it now, you're basically doing laps around that main funnel section and also around the water park. Really, really good up here to escape the crowds, because more often than not, the actual decks are relatively full of people, so you can't really run down there. Now at the very centre of the jogging track, you'll find this multifunction sports pitch. So you could play basketball on here, you could play tennis on here. I also saw people playing football on here. You don't book this court, so you are just dependent on it being available at the time of you coming up. But I very rarely would see people in conflict up here, so yeah, I don't think you've got anything to worry about. And finally, the very top deck, which is one of my favourites. Now up here, you can come to escape the crowds on what I think is a little bit more of a hidden part of the ship. So you can see you've got loads and loads of loungers. Let me just show you again from a different angle. And this is then looking down all over the main ship. Now, if you're looking for something a little bit more exclusive, then you can pay, as a suite guest, a visit to the very front of the ship, which is called the Burmese Rose Lido. Now in here, let me take you outside and show you what's on offer. I'm going to show you one side, but what you're looking at is actually duplicated down the other side of the ship. Now first up, you've got a raised hot tub in that section coming up on the left hand side, and then you've got an open bar, followed by lots of loungers and loads of different seating options. Now, it's worth noting that these loungers are actually the same as what you'd find elsewhere in the ship, so what you're paying for here really is just that more exclusive feel by being fenced off to the rest of the crowd. And that's it. That's a full ship tour of Costa Diadema. I really hope that you've enjoyed seeing this ship, and what I want to know from you is, let me know, would you cruise on this ship? What do you think?